So raise your hand if you would like an amazing life. And raise your hand again if you'd like the money in place to do it. In fact, say aye. 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 Glasgow contingent there, got it right to a T. So maybe you're here today because life is difficult. It feels like 50 hours a week working on the treadmill of work existence. For 50 weeks a year, for 50 years of our life. Same thing day in, day out. On the bet that we can buy our freedom in the last 16 years of our life. I mean, 50 years, 16 to 66, on the bet that we can buy freedom for the last 16. Is that what it's all about? And that bet, if we have less than £100,000 in savings, it's a bet we could lose. 95% of people have less than £100,000 in savings, and 95% of people are taking this bet they can buy freedom in the last 16 years of their life, and it's a bet they can lose. So I don't want you to lose. I want you to have something different. You might feel powerless, profitless. And we look at the news and the media and everything like that, and we think, sure, we're all doomed looking at it. So maybe you're here today because that's how you feel. Or maybe you're here today because you would like an amazing life. You'd like a wonderful, beautiful life. A life where money comes in while you sleep. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Instead of exchanging your time for money over there, you don't. It just happens because, well, it's possible. We can do that. We can live a life like that. Here we can do work that's so enjoyable that you never want to retire. You know, billionaires, millionaires, they're still working in their 80s. Why? Because they enjoy what they're doing. Because here, you can enjoy what you do with your life. Wouldn't that be great? Here you have power, you have profit, you feel great, you can make a great contribution to the world. And here's the thing. If you could help other people, then they would be willing to pay you money for it. The more you help, the more they're willing to pay. That's why you can earn while you sleep. So that's, if this is where you feel you are, what I call servitude to extinction, and this is where you'd like to be, which I call financial freedom, I'm sure you would agree that you need a vehicle, system or solution or game plan to get you from A to B. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's great because that's what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about a unique solution called the game plan that has been designed based on industry best practice 7 years ago, and I've developed it since and included elements to it. So it develops not only your outside world, but also your inside world. It's the plan to refer to when it's more than just money, and it's more than just your life. It's a combination of the two. So that's what brings it together. It's important because life is important. Would you agree, yes or no?
Yes.
Your life, yeah. It's important because we don't want to be on this treadmill of work existence in the rat race for the best part of our life. I mean, the first 16 were at school, last 16 were retired. We have this middle part, the 50 years, and we're taking the bet that we can enjoy ourselves in later life. 50 years is the majority of your life, and this is really important that you make the most of it. And we want to be sure of our freedom, not in the last 16 years of our life. Why not now? Why not bring it forward so we can enjoy it now? So that's my aim. I want you to have the freedom, have financial freedom now. So it's important. It's important because 60% of the population have less than £5,000 in savings or no savings whatsoever. So 60%, 6 out of 10 people are struggling from one paycheck to the next, living in fear. They can't even think about their dreams. They're just so worried about paying the bills. So I want to offer for free support to that 60% by running events like Born to Be, I've got a book coming out in May called Your Money or Your Life, and I have support materials for free on the website, and I have support materials on the Born to Be Facebook page, so I'm always posting. I have a video channel as well, so there's plenty of free content. The focus of that is, for the 60%, is to get them to a position where they can breathe and not worry about bills, so that they can concentrate on who they were born to be and their dream of freedom. So that's nice to have a dream. Would you agree? Yes or no? Yeah? Yes. So it's important because 95% of the population have less than £100,000 in savings, and they're taking the bet they can buy freedom in retirement when they can't. It's not enough. So I want to help people who are in that situation to get £100,000 and to get the freedom so that they can make choices in their life about who they want to be, because it's when that tipping point to freedom that you can then start to make choices about who you want to be, and you've got a bit of breathing space. So that's a very important threshold for me to get you over 100,000. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about, how to do that. So I'm taking you on a journey here from out of what I call debt slavery, which is the up to 60,000, so up to £5,000, and then taking you out of wage slavery, which is the kind of up to 100,000, into financial freedom and beyond. And we're going to talk about the whole story. So I'm going to be sharing stuff with you about that. It's also important because our children are going to have it even more difficult than we have it now. Because what's happened is there's kind of unaccountable hierarchies that of what I call profit and power, the system that makes it so that we work in the rat race because it's very profitable for the system, for the hierarchies, for us to do so, to keep us in that 50 years and so that we're generating profits for big corporations. So that's what we do. And I want you to escape the system and create profits for yourself, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? You like that? So, but our children, they've got it more difficult than us because they're, I don't know about you, but I find that children are kind of more aware and more wanting to help the planet and things like that. So the response of the hierarchies is to lay debt on them, to make them even further under with tuition debt. And that's kind of, in my view, a deliberate attempt to make it even more difficult for them to escape. Because it's in this independent, if we can get out this focusing paycheck to paycheck thing and have time to think freely, then we can escape the treadmill of work existence, and the kind of hierarchies then don't profit from our contribution. It's important because we're at a turning point in the history of the planet. People who are alive today have the choice, are going to be presented with a choice. Carry on as we are, exploiting the resources of the planet and mankind, and risk extinction, or turn the corner and find freedom. And it's my view that it's difficult to change the system, and what we can do is change ourselves, if that makes sense. Now is the time to make this decision. Now you were at the right place at the right time. Now is the time, because technology allows us to earn while we sleep. If you have gifts and talents that other people would be willing to pay for, if you can find that, then it's quite easy to get yourself known. You don't need to get on BBC, you don't need to get on ITV or Channel 4, you can have your own TV channel on YouTube and you can monetize it and you can get the message out to many, many people. You can do that now. So you can be a celebrity. When you were growing up and you were saying, I'd like to do this with my life, and they said, well, forget that. You'd never make a living out of doing that. You should do, something sensible, get a proper job. This is what we're told. That's old news. Now, if there's people who are willing to pay for your gifts and talents no matter what they are. You can monetize it, you can productize it, you can scale it. The more people you help, the more they're willing to pay and the more successful you will be. So now is the time, because technology allows you the opportunity to do that. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yeah. So now is the time, because we live but 1,000 months. Average life expectancy is 1,000 months. First 16 years, that's 200 months. Last 16 years of retirement, that's another 200 months. We have 600 months in between. And many of those months are behind us. A month isn't a long time. Would you agree? Yes or no? Yeah. So it's every month is precious that we let tick by another month and another month. It's a month gone that of the 1,600 or whatever we've got left. I mean, I think I've got 250 months left. Not long. So it's you don't make the most of your months, each month that goes by. So yeah, I mean, now is the time, because we've got these thresholds, and like I say, if you have less than 5,000, you're one of the 60%, and it's getting worse. Those numbers are getting worse. Those numbers are, you know, it's getting more than 60%. It's getting more than 95%, because the rich are getting richer, and the rest, everyone else, is getting poorer. So it's really important that we do that. And now is the time, because of our children, and we need to be an example. Now is the time, because this moment in time is the time to make a decision about the future of Earth. And it's really, really important that we kind of do that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now is the time, because every pound you spend is a powerful vote for the change you want to see in the world. This is the true vote. I mean, often we think our power is in the poll booth about electing between two politicians. What I found, I work in Parliament, as you'll see, and I try to change the legislation and regulations. This time last year, I was in the House of Parliament, in the House of Lords, and presenting a white paper. It's 10 years on since the banking crisis. My paper, I lead a team called the Market Integrity Team, and I was presenting a paper that suggested that they set up an all-party parliamentary group on financial stability 10 years on from the financial crisis. My paper was saying, what lessons have been learned? My paper said, no lessons have been learned. It could all happen again. So I've been banging my head a bit against a brick wall trying to change the system. Then I realised that, you know, when I'm clever, I try to change the world. But when I'm wise, I try to change myself. Would you agree, yes or no? Yes. Yeah. So this is what I found, that every pound we spend, so voting between politicians is no use whatsoever, because what happens is a lot of them are in the pockets of the big corps who pay for elections and that sort of thing. And in any case, if you get anyone who agrees, so Vince Cable agrees with me, he was president. We've set up an all-party parliamentary group on financial stability. So Vince Cable's kind of on board, and he's kind of... but then what happens, you put legislation before Parliament, and all the lobbyists, the paid lobbyists from the big institutions, come in and water down the regulations, so nothing changes. But this changes things, because every pound you spend is a powerful vote for the change you want to see in this world. And if you are mindful about how you use your money, and if everybody was, if more and more people were, then you would see real change happen in the world. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and how you can see real change happen. The way, just be mindful about the way you're using your money. Does that make sense, yes or no? Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to take you on a journey. So we're going to talk about, I talked about the pawn. Now, I mentioned that this is what I call them, the pawn. We are, you know, it's like a game of chess. Can you imagine a game of chess? Have you heard of chess, yes or no? Yeah. Yeah. So chess, you can either be the pawn in the game, or you can be the player. And I want you to be the player. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yeah. So 6% of less than £5,000 in savings, and are really worried about bills and paying bills, so they can't really think about who they were born to be. They can't think about the dream of freedom because they're too busy, too occupied. So what I want to focus on, like I said, get them out of that situation, focus on money. So I'm going to show you today how to get an extra £5,000 between now and August, okay, in your savings account. So I'm going to share with you things to do that. I'm also going to talk to you about the journey to the next level, which I call the player. And this is now we're talking the next 35% who have less than £100,000 of savings. Still, you're trapped a bit on the treadmill of work existence because you can't buy yourself freedom in the last 16 years with less than 100,000. But you starting to have a bit of breathing space and starting to be able to think about who you're born to be and your dream of freedom and that sort of thing. And what I'm going to do is show you how to get to the next level. So I want you to have an extra £100,000 in your savings account in less than 3 years. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about how to do that. That makes sense. Is that something you'd like? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay, then the journey carries on. And I'm going to show you some champions because I've got examples of this. There's hundreds of people who've been through this program. And I'm going to show you examples of people who've got to this stage. So this is the next stage. It's where you have £100,000 in savings. You're now on your journey to having up to £1 million in savings. Okay, so that's the next part of the journey. So I want to take you pawn, player, champion. Does that make sense? So at £100,000 plus, you do have freedom now. You're not, at this level, you can be in a position where you're not going to outlive your capital and you can do what you want. You can finish the job you hate. You can give it up. Would you agree, yes or no? Yeah? You don't have to do anything you hate when you are in this situation. You've now started to live into your dream of freedom. Okay, that's not the last level in the game plan. The last level legend. Last level is a legend, so this is £1 million plus. Okay, so this is the journey. I'm going to show you what you need to do to have £1 million extra over your lifetime. That wouldn't exist if we hadn't had this conversation today. So I want to really make it worth your while. You've taken your time to be here today. There's a few empty chairs, so there's a lot of people who haven't. That they're going to be disappointed because this is what I'm giving out. I've kind of kept this quiet. But I've got to give this out. I've got to tell you how you can do this and in a way that you agree with me that you can do these things. Even the £1 million one. Is that of interest to you? Yes or no? Yeah? Yeah? So, excellent. So we're going to do that. Now, the thing is about the £1 million. Say, well, everyone can't be a millionaire. And I just want to tell you, everyone can. If all the money in the world was divided by all the people in the world, we'd all be millionaires. So there's no scarcity of money. It's just that all the kind of 1% of the 1% have got it all. Does that make sense? Yeah? So you'd like your share of that, wouldn't you? Yeah? It's a fair share. I'm not just asking you fair share. Don't feel like you're cheating someone else out of it. You're not. But the other thing is that we need to be mindful of the planet. Oh, there we are. So here's the thing. If every consumer consumed what the average consumer consumes, a bit of a mouthful, we'd need 4 planets. Yeah? And that's just being average. Now, haven't got 4 planets, speak the obvious, but we have one. So if we can be mindful about how we spend our money, yeah, we can be mindful. If we're millionaires, we can be mindful about how we use our money and try to, change our behaviours so that we're not consuming the resources of the planet at the rate we are doing. Because we want to leave our children and their children some planet left. That would be great if we could do that. So we've got to be perfectly comfortable. There's plenty of alternative ways we can live and be mindful about this, that we can take care to make sure that we can cope with just one planet. So you'd like to be a millionaire looking after the planet, would you? Yes or no? Yes. Yeah. So raise your hands if you'd like to do that. Say aye. Aye. Right, just checking we're in the right room. You're in the right place then. Okay, well, why listen to me?